Welcome to One Dish, Two Ways. It's all about roast today. We've got a beef roast in the Instapot, and we've got a cauliflower roast that we have a Foster and he's smelling that roast. So I was just watching him. And we've got cauliflower roast with potatoes, onions, and carrots on this one. So stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. I'm Sheila and Joe's behind the camera. It is, the weekend after Christmas? Yes. And we are feeling like we want some roast. And we thought this would be another great video to show you the One Dish, Two Ways. So let's start with Joe's. So I'm going to do a cauliflower roast and Joe's going to do a standard pot roast. So we've got a chuck roast here. It's a little less than 3 pounds. But we're going to show you different ways to prepare it. So traditionally, pot roast, usually you put it in the pan and you've got your onions and your potatoes around that. My husband does not like that. So I am going to do the potatoes and the onions around my cauliflower roast, and we're going to do his in the Instapot. The other reason, well, this is the Pampered Chef version, but it's the same thing. It's an electric pressure cooker. The other reason is they will more closely get done together. Mine will take about 45 minutes. Joe's will take 50 minutes to an hour in the Instapot. So this is going to be perfect because then we'll be eating together. The other option is always for roast is the crock pot. Put that bad boy on and let it just cook all day long. So that's always an option. And I will put that down in the notes. It's just an alternate way to cook it. But this way we wanted to show you 2 different ways to cook. So we're going very simple on Joe's. He's not huge into seasonings. He wants to taste the meat. So we've got the insert for the Instapot. We've got the roast. And all he wants on it is some salt and pepper. And so that's what we're going to add. I'm a heavy pepperer. Honey, you want to give me a fork so I can turn this and put salt and pepper on the other side? Thank you. And then let's, just like with any electric pressure cooker, you've got to have at least 1 cup of liquid in order to get the machine to pressurize. So that's all I'm going to do is put 1 cup. If you put a hot liquid in, it won't take as long to pressurize. Now you can use any kind of liquid. So if you'd rather put beer in here, I've tried red wine before, but it caramelizes and then it's very hard to clean. So I wouldn't recommend that unless you added some water too. So this is just 1 cup of hot water from the tap. You could also boil water because, like I said, it'll come up to temperature. And we're going to put this on for 50 minutes, but then we're also going to let it release on its own. So I'm not going to manually do it. That'll just let it cook that much more because just any roast, you want it to be super tender. You could add any kind of seasoning that you want. He just wants it simple with the pepper and the salt. So what I always recommend, now the internet has a ton. If you just Google like times of how long something goes in an electric pressure cooker, doesn't matter if you have Instapot, the version of this company, that company, it doesn't matter. But I always keep my Pampered Chef ones because I actually have 2 because I used to sell Pampered Chef. So that's why I have 2. But I keep my book handy because it has everything I need in it. And so it's told me that it's going to be 50 minutes to an hour if it's fresh. It gives me fresh or frozen. That's the other thing about an Instapot or an electric pressure cooker is you can put frozen stuff in here. And we have done that before where you forget. You're like, oh man, we didn't get any food out. Boy, that's just such a lifesaver. As long as you can get the packaging off. So that's another tip is if you are buying large amounts of meat or if you're making anything that you're putting in the freezer and you think at some point you're going to put it in here, put it in some sort of vessel that will fit in here if it's frozen. Because if you do it and it's like this, you're going to have no way to get it in. So that's just a little tip because that has happened to me before. So just a little tip for you. So we'll get this one on, but let's go ahead and prep my cauliflower. So I'm going to be honest with you. I've never done this before. I've always wanted to do a cauliflower roast. So I read some posts and some blogs on the internet. And I'm going with this. Now, I saw several recommendations that said that the smaller cauliflower heads worked a little bit better. And it is just me eating it. So that's, I mean, I'm not going to eat the whole thing in one meal, but I thought, well, let me go with a smaller one. Now I took, and the other thing, okay, let's start here. It tells you to take all the leaves off, and then I took some of the core out because they said sometimes that doesn't get cooked before then it's too cooked here. So I did take a little bit of the core out, and it also recommended that you make it so it will sit level. Well, by the time I did all that, mine sits level. I didn't have to do anything else. And I love peppers, onions, and potatoes around a roast. That was always my favorite part. So I have got this was 2.5 carrots. Cut them in pretty big chunks. So again, it's going to be in the oven for 45 minutes. I've got about 1/4 of a very large onion. And then I've got some gold potatoes. I love russets, but boy, I love these things. I always pierce my potatoes. I've already cleaned them. I'm not cutting them in half because I feel like they're going to cook in the 45 minutes that the roast is on. So I'm just going to put these around. The other thing it said was to make sure that there's room around your cauliflower so that the air can get in there. So I'm making sure of that. I mean, this can't go wrong. Worst case scenario, just like with anything else you put in the oven. If it's not done, just put it back in. I mean, this isn't going to be bad. Don't be afraid to experiment. Okay, so I do want to put some sort of seasoning on here. So my vessel for, instead of like oil, is I'm going to use a little bit of tamari. And as you see, I don't really have much left in here. So let's see if I've even got a tablespoon left in here. I do, and that should be enough. And then I'm going to add, I was gifted this from my niece and nephew. Thank you so much, Sean and Sue. You know who you are. They gave us a 6-pack of these salt-free seasonings. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. So this one is called Scarborough Fare, and it's rosemary, parsley, sage, and thyme. Well, those are the flavors you think of with a roast, and I thought that would go so good with the veggies. So I've got a 1/2 teaspoon here, and a little bit of a heaping 1/2 teaspoon, and I'm going to put it inside of my liquid, and then I'm going to spread this, or what do you call this? Smear this onto my roast with a little ladle, or what do you call this? A brush. Whew, apparently I can't talk today. So this is going to be perfect. This 1 tablespoon is just enough to get all this on there. And boy, roasted vegetables, oh, there's nothing better. They just caramelize. Oh, it's so darn good. Now, because I've never done it before, I do plan to be in the kitchen the whole time. So I'm probably going to set a timer for 30 minutes. Thank you, sir. And so I can check it, because if I think, like a pie, if you think maybe it's getting a little too brown, I can always cover it with foil. But the internet says you do not need to cover it with foil. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going to pour, actually, let's go ahead and put some on the veggies too. That's going to be good. Just 1 tablespoon is all you need. I'm glad I went less is more. Remember, less is always more, because then you can always add. You can't take away once you add too much. So the potatoes.
You put the cauliflower in this?
I did not. I am roasting it. There were some rested. Huh?
Could you do?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You just wouldn't get the roast. You could also do it partial. You could cook it to make sure it's done, then throw it into the broiler to get the browning on the outside. Some of them suggested it if you have a very large cauliflower, that you do steam it for a little bit, then put it in the oven just to make sure it gets cooked all the way. They say it should be tender on the inside and a little bit of crisp on the outside. So we shall see. I'm not afraid to try it. Like I said, if it doesn't turn out, that's just real life. You got to try stuff to get it. So we're going to put this in 400 degrees for 45 minutes. We're going to turn this on 50 minutes to an hour, and then let it release. And when we come back, we will show you what they look like. And for Joe's, yes, he's going to have some mashed potatoes with his. So that's what he'll be eating with his. So we'll see in about an hour. Welcome back to our roast video. Everything is done now. Oh, you see Balto. This is our newest Foster Balto. He's a Siberian Husky. Say hi, Balto. Yeah, he's a 2-year-old Siberian Husky. So anyway, so here's the roast. So Joe's is out of the Instapot. So I put it on for 50 minutes, and then I let it, the steam come off by itself. And I think it was in there for 20 minutes. letting the steam, letting the steam come off so you can open it. And then it's just going to get that much more tender. So you can see it here. And then we had some leftover mashed potatoes and gravy. And so he's having that with it. And he'll probably have a veggie. He just didn't heat that up yet. So here's my roast. As you can see, everything looks perfect. I've got some crisp on my roast. Now I'm going to cut into it. I'm going to cut down the middle so you can see it. I'm hardly pushing anything. Oh my goodness. This is going to be so good. So I want to get like a hunk of it if I can keep it. Oh, it didn't stay together. That means it's tender. Okay, so let me get the rest of it on my plate. And then, of course, my potatoes. These are perfect. I just love gold because, see, they're going to get crispy on the outside. And you know that they're so creamy on the inside. And then I've got some onions and some carrots. And I love the onions this way, all crispy. So I'm going to need more. This is going to show this for now. And then I thought it would be really good just to add a little bit more flavor is add a little bit of vinegar to my steaks. And so I've got this oregano vinegar. So I'm just going to add a drizzle of it because I think it will a little too much on one piece. So I'll have to share that. So Joe, you ready to come in and try? Okay, so this one got a whole bunch of vinegar. So let's move this one over. Get a little vinegar in there. Okay, so I'm going to try just the cauliflower first with some of that vinegar. Oh. That seasoning, the rosemary, and the thyme are phenomenal. So I will show you the link to that, but then I'll also just tell you what seasonings I use. You could use any seasoning you want. Totally up to you. So let me get some potato and onions. Oh, I love gold potatoes. Everything is perfectly cooked. That's a good 45-minute sheet pan dinner. How's yours?
Meat's nice and tender.
Can they see that?
Just forks right off. Of course, potatoes and gravy. Nothing fancy about that.
We've never done mashed potatoes, but those are easy to do where we both can eat them. And then he can just add, this is leftover turkey gravy we had in the freezer. So it's just that simple to make the roast. So tell us in the comments, would you try the beef roast? Would you try the cauliflower roast? Or maybe you have a different roast that you want to tell us about that you eat in your family. And we'd love to hear about that. So thank you all so much for joining us today. And we hope you have a wonderful week. And we'll see you next week on One Dish, Two Ways.